galaxy far, far away, a brother and sister search for their missing parents.
How are we going to find them?
We will. Don't worry.
And fate leads them to the magical Ewoks.
We help you.
Now, a great adventure begins.
You hear that?
Get out of here. Watch out! Behind you!
It's an action-packed motion picture featuring incredible special effects from the award-winning team of Industrial Light and Magic.
That's Mommy and Daddy.
Sometimes when you search for the impossible, an unbelievable adventure unfolds.
I wish we had furry creatures like you where I came from.
Don't miss the Ewok Adventure, now on video cassette from MGM UA Home Video.
This is the way.
We wanted men.
I have spoken.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 24 of the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. This morning with me, as always, is Mr. Jason. Jason, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Glenn?
I'm doing all right. Can't complain, except
Good.
for, COVID messing all my fun stuff up. But we get into that later.
Okay. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's not bad, but,
Okay.
the mail and people shutting down and,
Oh, yep.
but, yeah. How's your week going so far?
Good. Quiet. Nothing much going on with me. I did pick up one thing,
Uh-oh.
but I didn't pick it up this week. I ordered it at the beginning of the month when I got my Falcon. I got there was a Celebrate the Saga. I kind of mentioned this before, where they had the R5 droid from Galaxy's Edge, like Hondo's droid.
Uh-huh.
And so it was like a 5-pack with bounty hunters and R5. So I got that just for R5. And so now he's part of the Falcon display, and that was it. But like I said, I ordered that a couple weeks ago and it finally came in.
Gotcha. I thought you were released from your spending.
No. I'm still spending time out.
There you go. Spending time out. Hey, dude, I've been kind of, I'm in the same boat right now because there was some stuff that I got a little bit of a bonus at work. So I spent that, and then, I picked up some unpainted micros from Justin. I'll get those next week. And then I found one of the mask beetles, like from the third run of Mask, the third series of Mask. They did a beetle, so I had to pick that up and that was on Deal or No Deal for cheap, but I'm waiting for that to show up next week. And then, as far as the COVID thing goes, I ordered a print from Christian, and Acme Archives is basically running on a skeleton crew or closed because of COVID. So he's waiting on them to show up, and, they're delayed, and it's been, so which means my print's delayed. So it's just, it is what it is. And then, I also had something lost, one of the We Care certificates. The best thing I can assume is that it's lost in the mail, but I got it from Plastic Galaxy, so they took care of me so far.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
Well, if you could have bought anything you want this week, what would have been the one thing you would have bought? Like if money wasn't a problem.
Oh, shoot. Money was, dude, there was some first shots on Deal or No Deal that I probably would have picked up.
There's the Emperor, and there was an AT or Imperial Snowtrooper or something like that I saw.
Yeah. There was that. There was the Han and Leia. There was like 4 or 5 first shots that showed up on Deal or No Deal. But when I'm broke, quote unquote, I call it rich people broke. You know, you just I kind of stay off a Deal or No Deal, because then I end up spending money I don't have, and then I get
Right.
yelled at by the wife, and it's not fun.
No, it's not.
I don't know. And then with Toylanta coming up next month, the end of March, I got to gear up for that. So you start trying to save my money up for that, because that's going to be another spending spree. But it's going to be a good one.
I forgot about that. Oh well.
It's give or take, man. I have a feeling it'll be good this year, because people have, had a year to stockpile everything. So I'm hoping it'll be a good one, but I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, though. Don't get me wrong. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting getting in that room with that many people again and seeing what happens.
Yeah, it'd be like a canary in the coal mine to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mix of emotion, because I'm excited and nervous and all in the same breath. It's a fun toy show, and like I said, I've been going for 10 years, and it's not having it last year sucked. So I'm really hoping it'll be a nice event.
I am too. It'll be my first Toylanta. I was supposed to go last year, but that got canceled. And yeah, I'm looking forward to attending like a big toy show.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
And then, Disney had an earnings call this past week, and they were talking about how in 2022 they don't expect to have as strict guidelines for COVID. They're not saying that COVID won't be a thing, but they feel like if you don't want to wear masks, skip going to Disney this summer.
That's good that they released that, because it is true. If they're saying by April the vaccine will be widely enough available to where anybody can get it, or the people, so that would make sense. Let's keep it going through at least through the summer, and then 2022 everybody should be vaccinated and things will be good. It just sucks that it took 2 years to get everything in order, but I guess when you get blindsided that this is what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way I see it, I don't want to get political, but I personally view it as, if you don't get the vaccine, you're probably going to get that more contagious version, the mutation of the virus. So just be safe. And for as far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to get the vaccine.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like I said before, I'm doing it sort of to do my part and get this crap behind us, because I'm ready to get this back to normal and get everything rolling again.
Yep, I'm ready for the meetups. I'm ready to go visit family. I'm ready to go travel.
Yeah, no fooling.
We were thinking about, I'm just like, at this point, it's been almost a year cooped up in the house, and, we don't go anywhere. So I'm thinking like, maybe come spring break this April, we'll just rent a cabin up in the mountains and get away for a day or two and go for a hike. And I think we're going to do that just because I'm burnt out. I need something.
The trip down to Florida in April, and then there's some other shows coming up. Father's Day weekend in Charlotte. There's Heroes Con. So I think we're just we're putting it out on the table. Just kind of, if we can make it happen, we're going to make it happen, because it's last year. Last year started off with a bang, because I was in New Orleans in January for my father-in-law's birthday. He wanted to do a family trip. And then in March, I was down there for my grandmother's birthday. And we were deciding at the time, do we want to have it? Her birthday's March 9th. So do we want to have it March 10th, or do we want to have it the weekend after, which was like March 13th or 7th, whatever. But if we would have picked the weekend after, that's when everything hit the fan. Mm-hmm. So it was nice the way it worked out, because everybody was gearing up for it that weekend. And then the next weekend, everything shut down. Mm. So it could have been bad.
That's a crazy time.
Yeah, it was.
Such a crazy time.
Hey, did anything happen this week in Star Wars?
No, not much. It was pretty quiet. There's no controversy, no arguing, no discourse, toxic discourse. No, nothing.
No.
No, obviously we're talking about Gina Carano and her post. And personally, all I'm going to say about it is that it's a toxic subject, and I want to be a force for positivity. It's just, if I start talking about it, it's going to be quicksand and we're going to get sucked in. And I just want to focus on Star Wars. I love Star Wars. And like I said, I want to be a positive force. So all I really want to say is that I hope that they don't recast the character. I don't think they need to, because the way season 2 ended, it seemed like they're going to focus more on of the Mandalorian. They're going to focus more on the Mandalorians, because he's got the Darksaber now. He's sort of the guy in charge. And Cara Dune is still part of the Star Wars universe. She's not going away. But yeah, that's pretty much all that's all I'll have to say about that, as Forrest Gump would say.
I'm going to back you up, kind of just politically or whatever, not even get into that. But if you're got millions of dollars riding on something and whoever you're working for says, stop doing this, freaking stop doing it. I don't care what your political affiliation is, but you could say whatever you want, but you're going to get fought. There's consequences to your actions. So that's my little piece of advice, because it can happen to us, and I'm sure because you deal with Facebook and social media a lot, that if you post nasty stuff on social media, you could get fired. So
yeah,
watch what you post.
And it's Disney, and Disney's very, very careful about how they present themselves. So it's not like anyone's going into it, they're not going into it with blinders on. I think people understand that it's Disney and they want a squeaky clean image, and anything that goes against that, you're going to cause some friction.
So the plan is, I guess, they're going to cancel everything but the retro line of Cara Dune, or at least with her image in it.
Yeah, so they were planning on repacking or re-releasing the vintage collection Cara Dune and the 6-inch Black Series version of her, because those have skyrocketed in price. I haven't checked it, but I heard that it's about $150 for the Black Series alone.
Wow.
Yeah, so maybe I should check that real quick. But so those have been canceled, those re-releases, and so only the retro collection is coming it's coming out, that version of the figure.
Right.
Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. Black Series Cara Dune eBay. Oh my God, the credit collection's $150.
Jesus.
Here's one for the regular version, $229. That's insane. Yeah, 120 is a low price here for the Cara Dune figure. So that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I wanted to get another credit collection, because for whatever reason, my figure's peeling off the card.
I remember when that happened, because you were showing it off and you looked down and the bubble released.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's no loss on my part.
Right. I hate when stuff like that happens, when there's a controversy or somebody passes and their stuff shoots through the roof. Because like when Carrie Fisher died, her figures went through the roof, and it had nothing to do with Carrie Fisher. I could understand her autographs or something she touched going up, but a Princess Leia figure going up just because the actress died, I don't understand that.
Yeah, there's a panic and a rush afterwards to like have a piece of that, I guess.
Uh-huh.
It's almost like they're associating their emotion to that figure, and they have to grab the figure, and so for whatever reason that causes prices to increase, and it all levels out. But yeah, I don't understand it either.
Right. Oh well.
This past week, Hasbro had a Zoom meeting with some of the fan channels like Star Wars Newsnet and Jedi Business and Bantha Tracks. Did you see that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, it was a Q&A, and they didn't really reveal too much. Some of the things they did say, and I listened to this on Jedi Business. They have a podcast, and they had the full Q&A there. So some of the things I picked up on that was the situation with COVID caused everybody's business to change. So there was a lot more focus on online ordering and e-commerce, and so everybody was scrambling to try to meet the demand and try to meet standards on how to package things. Someone mentioned that their vintage collection figure could have fit perfectly inside a Walmart box, but for whatever reason they turned it sideways and smashed it in. And so what Hasbro said that they were doing is they were working within the system, so they can't go to Walmart and say, I want to change how you're packaging things, and we need to start from the top down. They're trying to work within the system of Walmart shipping and trying to fix it within the system, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Right.
And so they're working on that. They're working with their retail partners. They never called out Walmart directly. They kind of just brushed off any reference to them and said that we're working with our partners, and they're trying to evolve with it and trying to adjust to the new way of business. So we'll see if things improve. But they also did mention that they considered making the vinyl cape Jawa for that new 6-inch Kenner re-release.
Uh-huh.
But they said because of the way the Jawa was molded specifically around its belt, that the vinyl cape didn't sit right and it wasn't going to work out. So that's why they kind of aborted that and went with the cloth version.
At least they explained it. I mean, you know, you'd hate for them to spend another $100,000 just to remold something to make it vinyl.
Yep. And I appreciate, like you said, that they spoke to that and they tried, because I thought that would have been really, really cool to have a vinyl cape Jawa and 6-inch figure.
Right.
They also admitted that we won't get back to the days where we'll see tons of figures a year. And they said that the Walmart exclusives coming this year would not have happened if they didn't have a retail partner. So it's like what's the word? Shit.
Symbiotic.
Not symbiotic. It's like a no. You can see how my brain is just slowly starting to like boost up this morning, and the engines are still trying to rev up. No, it's not. Maybe it is symbiotic, but what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, fudge. Anyways, yeah. So if it wasn't for Walmart, we wouldn't be getting those 3 figures.
Did they say anything about releasing any more of those? Of the the Kenner Deco?
No, they didn't comment on any more further re-releases, but they kind of hinted if this is a success and people seem to respond well to it, then there's a chance they'll make more. I
still want them to re-release that Boba Fett one, just because I couldn't get it on the foil back, but I really dig that Deco of that, because he's clean for once versus the dad bod Fett. When I first saw that when he repainted, I was like, when the hell did he have time to repaint that armor?
Yeah. He had time between episodes 3 and 4. I can't remember when it was, but yeah, you're right. And then speaking of Boba Fett, Hasbro sales surged 70% in 2020 due to The Mandalorian. So I would expect that we do get the Mandalorian version of Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth somewhere down the line.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty much assured.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that Cobb Vanth, because I thought that was a cool figure. It's a cool, like I keep saying cosplay, but that's going to be a cool cosplay. It gives opens up the world of cosplay.
Yeah, it's a perfect marriage between a gunslinger and Boba Fett.
Right.
You get Cobb Vanth, and it's just a great design, great character. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll look awesome. Or at least if they execute it right, I think it'll look great. But I think they will.
Still trying to remember what word I was trying. Something with the devil. It's not the devil in the details, but it's just like, I don't know.
The devil you don't know versus the devil you don't, or something, or
I don't know. It's just like, if it wasn't for Walmart, we wouldn't get those figures. But because of Walmart, we're probably not going to get the figures. And you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, kind of thing. Maybe. I don't know. Stupid brain, start working.
You really did need that dunk and run this morning.
Yeah. But anyways, that's all the news I had. Did you have anything?
No, you're better at the news than I am. So yeah, I don't really have anything. It was sort of a slow, except for the whole Gina Guerrero thing. It was been a slow week.
Would you prefer them recast, or would you just move on?
Oh, geez. I did see, you made me pack up my notes because we weren't going to go that way, but let me bring them back out.
Forget it.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm going to do it because I want to talk about it. There's actually a couple of people, fans are kind of talking up that they want either Lucy Lawless or Lena Perella, who played the evil queen in Once Upon a Time to play that role, to take over the role.
Looking her up.
Once you see her, I think that would be a really, the acting's going to improve.
I can see it working too, but let's bring in new characters and just newness.
Right. I guess it depends on what the storyline is, and if they, like we were talking, they were going to do the Rebel. What are they calling it?
Rangers.
The Rangers. Yeah, the Rangers in the New Republic. They were going to have her be part of that, and I guess they could recast and be okay, but it depends on what storyline they wanted to give her, or they could just throw another, Marshal in there, and hell, give it to Timothy Olaf. Let him, be the Cobb Vanth, but, not have the armor or something. That would be cool because, he does play the gunslinger role well. When people were like, let's recast her, I wanted to get a board, just a 2x4, and like post a picture in the thread.
Done.
There you go.
Done. Here we go.
Right.
But okay. Yeah. I'm in the camp of move on, new characters. But I could live with a recast, I guess.
Yeah, it all depends on like I said, what they want to do, but Disney's really good about changing things up, and they'll figure it out, and we'll go, and then we'll awesome. I do like there's I guess a Family Guy thing, or there's been other kind of memes where it's like it's just the guy with a Mando bucket on saying Cara Dune crashed her X-Wing and died. And then, you're done.
Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want that specifically, because that seems forced.
Right.
And it seems like they'd be winking at the audience, like, here's your explanation, we're moving on.
Did you ever watch House of Cards?
The first couple seasons, yes.
Well, in the last season, who was the lead? I want to say it's shit. His name just escapes me.
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. So when they got rid of Kevin Spacey in the last season, he just died, and they had a funeral for him and everything. So it felt kind of weak.
Yeah.
And they never really. That was all. He just died, and it was a storyline throughout the last season, but it did feel kind of weak because.
The best I've ever seen that done in is Iron Man 2 with Don Cheadle replacing what's his face as Rhodey, and there's a moment right at the beginning. Tony's at a congressional hearing, and the doors open, and Don Cheadle walks in, and he says to Tony something like, "I'm here, it's me, deal with it." And the character's saying, I'm here at this congressional meeting, just deal with it, let's move on. But not metaphorically, but metaphysically, I don't know. He's talking to the audience saying, I've been recast, I'm here, let's just move on and deal with it. It's a comic book movie. And so I think that's the best that's ever been done. Yeah.
I love when they bring up stuff like that. And I never even thought about it from that perspective, but it is funny when they do recast somebody and everybody kind of goes, and then they just go,
let's just move on.
Yeah.
The story's the same.
Yep. So
bringing it back to the Star Wars universe,
yes.
Jan Dodonna was recast in Rogue One. Nobody brings that up.
I don't even know who the hell that is.
General Dodonna. He's the guy that was at the end of A New Hope in front of the Death Star plans, in front of like all the X-Wing pilots, and he's like, according to the readout provided by Princess Leia.
Oh yes.
So he was recast in Rogue One, but obviously the character's like, I'm sure the actor's passed away since then, so they had to. But
well, they recast everybody in Rogue One.
Yeah. Even Princess Leia.
Yeah.
Got recast by a computer.
Right. And Grand Admiral Thrawn. Not Thrawn, fuck. Tarkin. Grand Moff Tarkin. God damn it.
Tarkin. This is a tangent real quick, but I love to hear people's opinions on that. What did you think of Tarkin in that movie?
I thought it was all right. It didn't really throw it off. I thought Princess Leia threw it off more than Tarkin did.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, you could just feel it. It maybe because all the scenes with Tarkin in it were dark, and then the one scene with Leia was bright,
yeah.
and then her face was dark, so the lighting looked off. But that's just me being a AV nerd.
So what is your preference? Tarkin in Rogue One, Leia in Rogue One, or Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian?
Oh my God. It would have to be Tarkin in Rogue One because I didn't even realize that was Mark Hamill in The Mandalorian until somebody told me it was. Because I was like, there's no way that's Mark Hamill. You know, that they had de-aged him. But it wasn't even him playing he just did the voice. There was another actor that stood in for him.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think they should have just recast Luke Skywalker and we would have been, you know, put Bucky in there.
I'm just gonna hit repeat. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. I'm Team Tarkin.
But you know, I think they did a good job with Tarkin. Princess Leia, I think, is just too much of a no. Okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. I think the reason Tarkin's not as quote unquote well known or well loved of a character as Luke and Leia are, so he's not ingrained in our memory as much as they are. So we could accept it better than we can Luke and Leia.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think they had a more detailed scan of Tarkin's face because of a movie he did, and so there was more detail in the face. And it just looked more realistic than Princess Leia, who looked like a computer cutscene, a video game cutscene.
Right.
But yeah, trying to find a way to pivot this into our topic of conversation. You're very courageous to come out with that statement about Team Tarkin. I don't know.
Oh, Jesus. So, yeah. We decided last week after the show to watch Caravan of Courage. Oh my God.
You sound like we decided last week after the last episode to drive our cars off a cliff. That's the way you presented it.
It would have been better doing that than watching Caravan of Courage. Oh my goodness.
I went on Wikipedia after watching it, and it was written, according to Wikipedia, by George Lucas's kid's nanny.
Really?
Like it wasn't even a screenwriter. It was just like, hey, you sound like you know how to tell a story to my kids. Why don't you write a script?
Wow.
So
that explains it.
Yeah. I mean, it was George Lucas's story, but he didn't write it.
Yeah. Wow.
And the crazier thing is, I was going to save this till the end, but I'll share it now since we're kind of going through the cast stuff. When the credits come up, it doesn't list a director, which is normally the first thing they show. It shows George Lucas as the executive producer first, followed by the editor, followed by the director of photography. But they never say who the director is. Wow.
Did they ever announce the director of it?
Yeah, they say on Wikipedia that it was John Cordy, who's been involved with other projects, but he was also listed as the director of photography. So I don't know if George was on set just kind of giving orders and stuff, but didn't want to attach his name to it or something. Because at the time, you got to remember that TV is not looked at the same way as it is now. So if you were a TV director, that was a step down from being a film director.
Uh-huh.
To put that in context.
So was this a made-for-TV movie?
Yes. Okay, in the United States, it was released in 1984 on ABC. But overseas, it was released Digitar. It's theater. What the? It was released in theaters.
There you go. That's a lot easier.
Theatrically, it was released theatrically. Oh my God, my tongue is too big for my mouth sometimes.
Oh, well, that explains a lot. If it was a made-for-TV movie.
Yes, I remember renting it on VHS. I remember my parents bringing it home one night and being like, "Hey, we're gonna watch the Ewoks."
Wow.
So we got excited about it.
Wow. I meant to rewatch at least YouTube some stuff of Return of the Jedi because I really wanted to see if the Ewok's lips actually moved in that movie versus in Caravan of Courage.
It's my understanding that Wicket's lips do move, and that's why Wicket was picked to be the one that goes closer to Princess Leia, because it was the only costume where the lips moved.
Okay. Well, his lips didn't move in Caravan of Courage.
Not too much, no. Some of the other ones do,
Okay.
but his not so much. And the other weird thing about this, this was before Lord of the Rings, but this was almost like if you combine Star Wars with Lord of the Rings, instead of the Fellowship, you got the Caravan. And you've got your wizard Ewok, you've got your dwarf, which was the kind of the brute with the axe Ewok. So it's just this weird thing. It's just this weird.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to walk through it real quick? For those that don't remember Caravan of Courage, it does start with the 20th Century Fox logo and the fanfare, which is and the classic green Lucasfilm limited logo. And so it's got that classic Star Wars feel, and it's I think the current Disney movies are missing is that Fox fanfare and all that stuff. So I don't know, I appreciated that, but we do open up on Endor, and much like E.T., where there's people in the forest with flashlights, they're searching for something in the woods. We do see a couple people doing the same thing, searching for something in the woods. They're looking for their children, who happen to be called Mace. That doesn't get recycled. And Sindel. Mace is the older brother. Sindel's the little girl, and they're on a broken starship. And the parents are chased off by a Gorax, which is a massive, like 30, 40-foot tall creature. It's like a Bigfoot it's like King Kong with a bat's face. I think that's the best way to describe a Gorax.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
So the parents are searching. They're lost in the woods. They're searching for the kids. The kids end up being discovered by Ewoks in the next scene, hiding in the starship. So I didn't understand what was going on there.
Did the kids come back to the starship and decide to hide, or what?
We don't know, and it never gets explained.
And
one of the many mysteries of this movie.
It was like, did they just get done? Did a little girl just get done watching an Olivia Newton-John video and decided to get dressed?
Yeah. Yeah. So I made notes about that. So to describe that, let me see, where's my note? Mace is wearing an orange jumpsuit, much like Luke Skywalker, but with like a padded vest. It's like a half jacket with shoulder pads. He seems like a fixer because he's got lots of gadgets and stuff on his belt. And Sindel's wearing white shirt and white pants with a padded pink vest over it, and then like a scrunchie for a bandana, just like over her forehead.
You can't forget the moon boots, dude.
The moon boots. She's got moon boots. It's very 80s. It feels very Disney Star Tours from the 80s. I loved it.
Yeah, you know what? Now that you mentioned Star Tours, it is a total Star Tours ripoff.
I wonder if they use some of these Ewoks for the pre-show, because if you remember the Star Tours video in the pre-show, how to get into the Star Cruiser, Star Speeder, and all that, they show like Ewoks joining you and buckling up and stuff. So I wonder if they recycle these costumes.
They might. They've got to. I mean, they got to get their money's worth out of those damn things.
Yeah. I'm having so much fun talking about this movie, and we just started. we meet Deej, Deej is how it's spelled, and this happens to be Wicket's father. And Wicket has two older brothers, and the movie has voiceover provided by Bert Ives, who did a lot of those old classic Christmas specials. And he did the voice of the snowman in Elf. There's a voiceover in Elf. Okay. So it's the same kind of voiceover who kind of pops in every now and then to let us know what's going on, because obviously the Ewoks don't necessarily talk English or basic, as it's known in the Star Wars universe. But two of the Ewoks, two of Wicket's brothers have gone lost, so Deej decides to go hang gliding to find them. And so
Yes.
there's like a 5-minute scene where he's just gliding around Southern California. I mean Endor. And that was another thing that stuck out. Like it's a forest moon of Endor, but then there's all these rolling hills.
Right. The first 5 or 10 minutes it did not feel like Endor. They were trying to make it look like Endor, but that was no Endor.
I made a comment. There's a lot of soaring music that takes place, and it would make Epcot soaring jealous. But while he's in the sky, he does notice a reflection in the forest of a crashed Star Cruiser, but he ignores it. He keeps moving on because he sees his kids trapped on a cliff, and he throws them a rope, and it just perfectly lands
Right. And
on the Ewoks.
I really thought, I was like, he's going to throw these kids a rope and they're going to grab onto it and he's going to fly off with them.
That's what I thought too. That's not what happens. He just happens to have the rope and he throws it.
And then he happens to land. It's like,
Yeah,
wow.
he happens to land with expertise. Some of these shots of the glider and some of the Ewoks kind of rappelling down the mountain make them look, and I'll say this with a curl of my eyebrow, tall all of a sudden. They try to hide it. They try to hide it with some camera angles, but it's obviously like a 5 foot, 6 foot tall stunt double in an Ewok costume that they've tried to make using different camera angles to look like they're small.
Yeah. And
I checked my clock here. 10 minutes had passed.
It really is bad. Oh God. I was like 10 minutes into it. You're like, how long is this damn movie?
And this is where the Ewoks, the 3 Ewoks, the father and the 2 kids, they go investigate the Star Cruiser and they find Sindel coughing because she's hiding like in the cabinets of this Star Cruiser, the starship.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mace comes up and he's holding a blaster and he takes an Ewok hostage. And there's a skirmish between Mace and the Ewoks. And then everything's fine. They decide to help Sindel. And they walk on to Wicket's hut. The Ewok march music is on. I'm sure everybody knows.
Yeah. I did notice some Star Wars music in it.
That was pretty much all I noticed was just this one scene with that Ewok march.
Yeah.
But it does make you feel like Return of the Jedi. But then, okay, so they go back to the hut. The hut is on the ground. Ewoks live in the trees, but this one is on the ground. To save money, I'm sure.
Right.
I also noticed that. No, go ahead.
You did get that really nice Ewok village feel later and shot.
Yes.
Later.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
So I also noted that Mace looks a lot like a young Mark Hamill.
Okay.
There's some similarities there, and I wonder if that's why they casted him.
Well, he is wearing the X-Wing, wannabe X-Wing jumpsuit.
And he's got that dirty blonde hair, sandy blonde. So there are some similarities there, but anyway, Sindel doesn't feel well. She faints. The Ewoks give her some medicine to make her feel better. This is like that feel-good moment that you would get at the end of Full House where she's like, "Where's mommy?" And Mace is, trying to make her feel good, and the Ewoks are trying to make her feel good, and then they cut to a scene where the Ewok brothers are the 2 that got lost. They're gathering lumber, and one drops a log on the other's foot by accident, and then the other brother throws down what he has in his hands, and they just wrestle. And it's almost this moment of comic relief after worrying if Sindel's going to die from her sickness. Did you? I don't know.
I must have missed that, dude.
Yours
wow.
You said yours was skipping.
Okay, I've got to give a backstory, and I probably should have done this earlier, but I found this DVD for $2 at a flea market about a year ago. I couldn't leave it sitting there. No. So I was watching a $2 flea market DVD version of this. So it had some scratches and I didn't realize it. So it was skipping around a little bit, but it skipped like later on, but maybe I missed this scene too. Or maybe I was just bored and was looking at my phone and missed it.
Oh, I was paying close attention. because after this comic relief, which comes off like a Laurel and Hardy kind of moment, we cut back to Sindel, who's still hurting. Everything's hurt. Everything is hurting, is what she says. And so they decide to go get more medicine. And they go to this. The voiceover comes back on and says there's a tree in the Ewok forest with healing powers. It looks like a regular tree in the forest with the maple syrup tap on it. And the Ewoks start to pull in some of that juice from the tree, and Mace realizes something's watching them, and he goes over to investigate while the Ewoks are gathering the medicine. And there's a quiet moment, and they pull in some of the same kind of ambient sounds from Return of the Jedi when Princess Leia is kind of scanning the forest to see if there's like a stormtrooper out there, and it's quiet, but you hear all the bugs and the whistles of birds and stuff. They pull in the same kind of sound effect. And there's a little hamster dude in this opening of the tree, and when he reaches in to grab it, the hamster kind of grabs him, and it's kind of the classic fool the hero with something small and cute because there's a giant worm that's got all of his arm moment.
Oh, and did it grab his right arm? It grabbed his right arm, right?
Yes. Why? Did I miss something here?
No. Later on, or whatever.
Yes.
Yes,
I did. Later on, the Ewoks, they go back to they go back to the Ewok hut with Wicket and all that, and they give her the medicine, which takes like a good 5 minutes to prepare the medicine and to turn it into something usable so that they can give it to Sindel. And she drinks the medicine and she goes, I feel better already. And they look at Mace's hand. You want to give the news? Because you noticed it.
It was his left hand.
It was his left hand. I just noticed that because he pointed it out. His hand was all puffy and swollen, but it was his left hand. His right hand was the one that was eaten.
Oh.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but when you get attacked by one of those tree worms, even if they attack your right arm, it's actually the left arm that starts hurting. It's a canon thing.
That, and I got to say, the medicine in the Star Wars universe must be freaking amazing because it works in like 2 minutes. Hold on once. All right, kiddo, bye. My daughter's leaving.
Okay.
But yes, it works in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All of it.
And the Ewok helping her was making this weird sound to show empathy, like, There's a lot of sound effects in emoting like that because the Ewoks obviously don't talk English. She's just like giving her the medicine going, Goda,
It's so bad. Wow.
And there's another like 30-second clip after this. It's the next morning, and Sindel is telling Wicket that they crashed in a star speeder, and Wicket is talking back saying, Star Peter. And Sindel's like, yeah, star speeders. And she's making the motions with her hands like there's a star speeder, and Wicket goes and grabs a horse. And he's like, Star speeder. And he starts playing with the horse. I commented here.
That's a horse.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah. No. I mean, it is what it is. Sindel looks a lot like Drew Barrymore. I noticed here from E.T. with the curly hair and the kind of the young sister looking thing. I don't know.
Do you think they kind of did that on purpose? Did the Mark Hamill / Drew Barrymore?
Yeah, I think they leveraged what was working in the early '80s to make this work. Right. So I think it was done on purpose.
And it was a made-for-TV movie, so
yeah,
who cares?
Yeah, and I also thought that Sindel reminded me a lot of Anakin Skywalker in Episode 1.
Okay. There's some
similarities between that young, innocent. The world is very scary, and I need to be protected. I don't know. There's some similarities, some shades of familiarity in that.
You mean it's not because of their awesome acting job?
Well, no.
Oh, wow.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Phil Tippett was involved with this project. And he did a bunch of the animation, the stop motion animation. He did all the Jarek table stuff.
Okay.
He did the animation of the Tauntauns on Hoth.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say Endor, but so he's just a classic stop motion, stop go animation guy, and he did the wolf that we see coming up, where there's a pig boar wolf kind of looking thing. It's giant. It's like 6-7 feet tall. It's rough, but I do love seeing the claymation.
It's classic 80s, man.
It is. So there's a scene where Mace is like, we need to get the heck out of here and find our parents, and everyone's sleeping. He wakes up and he goes out and he takes Sindel with him, and they're running through the forest, and they get caught by this boar that was introduced with a quick like howl at the moon kind of scene. And so it's chasing after them, and they hide in a tree trunk, and the boar is like trying to get into the tree trunk, and we see the hand trying to like reach in, and it's not until it finally gets its hand in that it stops trying to get them. It just stops. And then we cut to the next morning when the Ewoks are battling this boar.
Oh, I thought that was instantaneous. That was the next morning?
Yeah, because they fell asleep.
Oh.
They fell asleep inside the tree trunk.
Okay.
It reminded me a lot of Avatar when he first becomes part of the Na'vi for the first time, and he goes out into the woods and he gets chased by that giant creature, and it's kind of the same kind of scenario except less exciting. But then the Ewoks fight this wolf with the spear. They end up killing it. It's a combination between stop go animation and forced perspective. They cut to a puppet sometimes, and they use like little toothpicks to kind of poke at the puppet to make it look like they're scale with the Ewok spears that are trying to hit it. But then one swings, which is a callback to Return of the Jedi. He swings on rope, tries to ride it. He gets knocked off.
That was total callback, dude. I was like, da 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 da.
Yep. Another one pulls out what I thought was a horn. I thought he was going to go doo, 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 like you just did, but it's a blow dart, and he shoots it, and he gets the creature asleep. And that's when they discover the parents' watch. All right, so there's a couple things going on here. First, I made a comment that this is still 30 minutes into the movie. Secondly, so the kids wear a watch around their hands. It's like a silver steel watch. It almost looks like handcuffs, but thicker. And they wear it around their wrists, and they find their parents' watch on the boar. And so for whatever reason, they assume that the parents are still alive, despite being on this boar, where I would assume that the parents were lunch.
Oh, yes.
So there they want to find the parents. So they go to Logray from Return of the Jedi, who is living, like you had mentioned before, in the village, in the trees. We're back in the classic Ewok village up in the trees.
Right.
And Logray is the medicine man. And it looks like he uses a light fixture, which is like an upside down, and he uses it like it's a top. He starts spinning it. And the music starts to swarm, and everyone stares at the top. The top has like this top part, which is maybe about 3 inches tall. It's got like a milky yellow section to it all the way around, and as the top spins, it reveals like where the parents are. And so they see the parents kind of with the Gorax trapped together.
Oh, some good 80s cheese right there, man.
Yeah. Our voiceover comes back in to explain that the Ewoks know where the Gorax live. So seeing the Gorax tells the Ewoks exactly where the parents are. It's a land that no Ewok has ever returned from. Ooh. Sindel is crying, but the father, Wicket's father, Deej, comes over and says, "We help you." And then I love this. It's a production error. He slams his knife on the table to signify he knows exactly where the Gorax is on the map. And I noticed there were 2 other tick marks on the map. So this must have been the 3rd take they used it.
That's almost as bad as when you're watching a car chase and there's the drag marks on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. It's already there. By the way, we're 45 minutes in. We're halfway there. Halfway to the end. We cut back to the this movie. We cut back to the Ewoks, Wicket's cabin, and the mama is crying, and I assume because she's scared that they're going to the Gorax. Mace is outside. He's kind of talking to his mom and dad, hoping that they're okay and safe. It's a really rough matte painting. It's two suns or two moons rising out over above the forest of Endor. I don't know. It's just a rough matte painting.
Yeah.
But it's a low budget movie, so it is what it is.
Really low budget.
Okay, so so the Ewoks are all preparing to go on this journey as a caravan, and Logray bestows to the travel people totems of ancient Ewok warriors. Deej gets the white wings of hope, which is like a bandana with feathered wings. The red wings of courage goes to the sun. Wicket gets a walking stick, a magical walking stick. Sindel gets the a candle of pure light. Mace gets a stone. He thought there was a crystal on the ground. He's like, "Oh, that's mine." And Logray's like, and he doesn't say this, but he's like, "No. You get the rock. It's just a regular rock." So he takes the rock. He's like, "This sucks."
Total throwback to Charlie Brown's Halloween, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did notice that Logray's eyes kind of move back and forth underneath the glass dome of the exterior. So there is some movement in his eyes. It doesn't blink like in the new versions of the movie where they added the blink for Wicket.
That was another creepy thing, that they never blinked and their lips didn't move. So those Ewoks really freaked me out.
Yeah, they just look stoned the whole time. Like, oh man, where are we?
Oh, I'm gonna say it now because I'm not gonna save it. It literally looked like somebody broke into the props department of Star Wars and made a fan film with the props they stole.
George Lucas was a fan of Return of the Jedi.
So he decided. Yeah. So he decided to make this movie. Wow.
And so they start getting ready to go. They start loading up the horses. Sindel is lowered from the village up in the trees in a basket. And it's like, that wouldn't fly today in movies. They wouldn't be lowering some child in a basket from heights. That just wouldn't happen. That stuck out. I know I just wanted to comment on that. There's nothing there.
Safety meeting.
Yeah, safety. And so we cut to the Caravan of Courage walking off on their adventure, and we get another matte painting, and it looks like the Ewok village is 20 feet off the ground. Yeah. It's not skyscraper heights. It's 20 feet off the ground. I just assume this is like the lower level of the village. I mean, you have to go from the ground up to the village somehow. Mm-hmm. But it just was off-putting in it because it looks so much like the village from Return of the Jedi, except 20 feet off the ground.
Right. Well, it's that awesome map painting.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I've tried matte paintings before. They're cool when they work.
Right.
And I will admit, mine looked shittier than what they're doing here. I can't match the level of, and I'm not being sarcastic. I can never do what they did. Mm-hmm. But it can be better when you look at Empire Strikes Back, and I mean, whatever. It's a low budget movie.
Just keep reminding yourself that.
Yeah. So this is the part where I hear George pitching it like, "Oh, this part's going to be great. It's going to be like Wizard of Oz." They're along the path. They're going towards the Gorax, and they pick up new Ewoks along the way.
It totally was.
They're walking this path, and all of a sudden, this tree just collapsed down and nearly kills Sindel and Wicket. And we find that there's this big, brave woodsman called Tukatroth. I think that's what his name was. I think that's what the voiceover called him. He's this big brute with an axe. And Mace and him kind of start fighting with each other. He's like, "Hey, what's the deal? What's going on?"
Oh.
And Deej, so the Logray gives Deej, the father Ewok, a couple extra pieces to give to Ewoks along the way, and one of them was a tooth. And they give the tooth to this brute. I'm going to call him the brute Ewok because he's taller than the rest and he's stronger.
And he's got that really awesome chest piece.
He's got the chest piece that is like sticks kind of tied together with rope. And he's got an axe. And so they give him the tooth because he's got a necklace around him with like a skull. And the tooth fits. It should go inside the skull. But he decides, no, I'm not going to do that. So this pisses Mace off. And he's like, hey, I challenge you. You got to join us. And he takes the axe and he throws it at a tree. And then Mace comes along and he throws his axe and it hits the handle of Mace's axe. And now we're on the adventure together.
The little girl's face when that happened was just like, oh!
It was magic.
Oh my God. The little kid's reactions throughout this, her reactions throughout this whole movie was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just classic. So then, so this brute Ewok is going on the adventure now, and then they stop because there's this Yoda mofo in the woods meditating, and they just walk up to her and they give they say that the voiceover says this character's name is Kank, and Deej gives this person the crystal. Kank is an Ewok priestess, by the way,
right?
And the voiceover says that they must pass a magic test before she joins the caravan. And they put the crystal in Mace's hand and it turns into a lizard. And Mace kind of drops the lizard and he's just like, we don't need this. And he leaves. But then Sindel picks up the lizard and it turns into a mouse. And Sindel kind of asks, can you go with us? And she's like, yeah, I'll go. So I guess the magic test was to see if you could transform the crystal into a mouse.
You're so damn cute. Let's go.
Yeah, that's basically how it is. And so we're almost an hour in, by the way. Mace leans over. So they start moving west through a desert. They travel across those Southern California hills again. Mace leans over into a lake and sees his reflection, and he touches it. And he's magically captured by the water and trapped under the surface, which is a lot, again, like the dead marshes in Lord of the Rings where Frodo gets sucked into the marshes and he's kind of stuck under the water. They try to throw Mace rope and the rope disappears. They try to use a branch and the branch disappears. Sindel tells Wicket to use the magic stick giving to him. Wicket uses it and he pulls him out.
Amazing how that works.
Yeah. And so they paused by this lake where either the Zodiac Killer had done something wrong or the Mythbusters have blown some shit up. Sindel gets trapped in a tent that's kind of on top of one of the horses, and the horse runs off because Wicket is goofing around. And the brute Ewok jumps on a horse and he starts chasing after him. And he chases after him a few minutes too long until the Ewok grabs the reins and slows the horses. And we are 1 hour in and we cut to commercial.
You see, that's where my DVD jumped. So,
Okay.
It jumped to probably about 10 minutes. I was thankful for that.
You got lucky.
I got lucky.
All right. So here comes some of the trippier stuff. They go back. They make camp. They feed the horses. They rest. Mace is staring out into the night. Sindel says, "This sure is a good candle. It never burns down." So I guess the candle's magic is that it never burns away. It's just always lit as long as you want it. Mace is kind of watching outside the tent to make sure that they're safe and stuff. And he kind of falls asleep. But then a fairy swings by the tent. And Mace goes out to investigate. It starts singing to him. And this little Tinkerbell looking thing is just flying around his head. And he calls out and Wicket comes out. And Wicket even calls them pixies. He's like, pixies, pixies. And everybody wakes up. And it looks a lot like Tinkerbell from Peter Pan. Just kind of picture that in your head. They do get close up, and when they do get close up, it doesn't look like Tinkerbell. It looks like a lightning bolt with the face. But it's just like there's a bunch of them. There's a swarm, and they just start playfully just like flying around. And Sindel comes out, and she's looking around, and she just looks like she could care less. Like, so what? So what that there's these magical fairies going around? And she puts her candle on the ground. and all the pixies suddenly start swirling around in the air, and they get sucked into the candle. And it's just like, did you just kill these pixies? Like, they never explain what happens. It's just very weird. But Mace sees one on the ground. He picks it up. This is where you get close to the face, and he kind of puts it in the pocket. And so, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I missed all of that part.
They okay. So they kind of walk. They do their caravan thing, more Lord of the Rings kind of imagery, where it's just a bunch of people in line marching through the Southern California hills. And we get another scene at nighttime where Mace, Sindel, and Wicket are together. The music is grandiose, and the pixie comes back out and it starts flying around. They try to feed it, and the pixie doesn't eat anything, but they start laughing, which seems to make the pixie become more active. And they kind of comment, "She's a giggle eater." Like did you not see this?
I missed that part.
They say, "Oh, it must eat giggles. She's a giggle eater." And so the pixie's just flying around and everybody's laughing, and it's just this whole like
Oh my God.
You got to see if that's on YouTube if you missed it.
Oh my God, I'll have to look it up. Wow.
So the voiceover comes back on and says the Ewoks crossed the desert of Sama, a land of acid pools and dry lakes, and they finally reached the dreaded fortress of the Forbidden Gorax.
Ooh.
Did you get to this part?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mace is told to pull out his rock, and he's like, because they don't want to climb. So the fortress is like a giant mountain that's been carved with like, to have windows, like openings for windows. It's just a tall mountain a fortress carved into the mountain, and they don't want to climb it. So they tell Mace to pull out his rock, and he's like, "I threw that away." And Wicket had picked it up, and he hands it back. Yay, we got it. Mace wiggles the rock, and he hears that there's something inside of it. He throws it on the ground. It's an arrowhead. And he places the arrowhead on the ground, which starts spinning around like a compass, and it starts pointing. It actually just drags along the ground. Did you?
Yes, I saw that part.
Did you see the hole? Did you see the hole in the ground?
No.
As the arrowhead is moving across the ground, you can see the line where they're pulling it from underneath to propel it in the ground.
Oh goodness!
Along the line of the line that they've laid out for it, and it kind of moves underneath a boulder. Oh, this is. I laughed at this part. It kind of. There's a giant boulder, and there's a cave behind the boulder, and they need to move the rock, but the rock is huge, and they can't move it. So Mace pulls out his blaster, and it doesn't work. And he starts talking to it. He's like, "Come on, blaster, give me a little bit more power." And it's like the blaster listens, because then it blows up the boulder.
Yes.
And so the caravan ventures in, and they decide to leave Sindel at the mouth of the cave. The Ewoks start to prepare. They put their feathered wings on. Wicket is staying behind with one of the brothers to stay with Sindel, but the rest of the fortress kind of goes. Rest of the caravan goes into the fortress, and there's a giant chasm that they have to cross. There's a spider web, which is obviously just rope.
That was so bad because it's like, wow.
It's low budget. It's for kids, so let's just skip it. But it is just rope with some spider web kind of mixed in there, which looked like actual spider web, by the way. It was like spider web on top of rope.
Right.
Is what it looked like. And so Mace climbs across, so does Deej, and like the last Ewok brother is stuck. The brute kind of crosses, the wizard crosses, and one of the brothers is stuck as a spider lowers down. You could see the fishing wire.
It was so bad. Well, you missed the little spider when they hit the little spider and it went down the caravan, and you could hear her cavern, and you could hear her go, "Ah!"
Yes, like Luke Skywalker going, "No!" Or screaming. He doesn't say no. He screams down as he falls down in the end of Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
They took that out. That was what? The special edition? And then they took it back out for the Blu-ray release.
Oh.
Anyways, the giant spider comes down, and the magician Ewok uses the crystal to hypnotize the spider long enough for the sun to cross, and then then it falls down, right?
They cut the thing. They cut the webbing.
They cut the webbing, right? The brute uses his axe and he cuts the webbing, and that causes the spider to fall into the chasm, which makes you think it's dead.
Right.
However, the spider returns to attack Wicket and Sindel. And again, Lord of the Rings imagery, Wicket against the spider looks a lot like Sam and Shelob. If you know that from the Two Towers or Return of the King, depending on which format of, if you're reading the book or watching the movie. And Wicket stabs it and kills it from underneath, just like Sam.
I haven't seen any of the Lord of the
You're
Rings
not a Lord
stuff.
of the Ring fan, are you?
No, I am not.
It's classic in my as somebody who likes to read and write, that's just a staple. But anyways, hopefully that helps illustrate what's going on to people who have seen and read the books. Anyways, they find the Gorax, the people that have crossed the chasm. They find the Gorax and they hide from him because he's so big. He's just like 40. He's giant. I'm trying to guess size and scale, and I'm horrible at that. And I would say 40 to 50 feet, maybe. Mm-hmm. So big so that one of the Ewoks can hide behind the axe head.
Yes.
We see the parents. They're hanging from a cage in the corner of the ceiling. And it's just, maybe he's saving them for Christmas, like a Christmas feast or something. Because he's eating.
He's eating a bone, with nothing on it.
But still, he's eating, like he's finishing up his dinner. He's eating something, but for whatever reason, he's keeping the parents alive in the cage in the corner of the ceiling.
He's keeping them alive just long enough so that they can save him with their Caravan of Courage.
Yes, they are. So the Ewok that was hiding behind the axe accidentally knocks down the axe. Who, again, these two are like Merry and Pippin from Lord of the Rings, but that's beside the point. Mm-hmm. The two brothers I'm talking about. But anyways, he takes off, and the Gorak starts to follow it, which gives Mace time to figure out how to save his parents. So they end up propping the axe on a rock to use it as a pivot point, and Mace jumps on one side, the Ewoks jump on the other side, and Mace flies up, and he gets to the cage.
I had a major plot hole in this part of the show.
But
if the cage had a hole in it big enough for the sun to go through, why didn't the parents just jump out?
I think they would have plummeted to their death.
Okay.
I think it's that tall. Like there would be some serious injury if they fell. It's that high up. But
right.
So here's a problem I had. He throws down rope, and instead of climbing down, one of the Ewoks climb up to the cage.
Yes.
And then he slowly lowers the Ewok it's the brute, and he slowly lowers Mace's down with the rope instead of Mace climbing down the rope.
Right. That whole interaction was just like, what the hell are y'all doing?
Yeah.
It was total wrong.
It was all weird. And then the Ewok being chased by the Gorax does the classic bait and switch. He hides underneath a basket, and the Gorax sees him. And then he picks up the basket. He steps on the basket, and the Gorax steps on the basket. He pulls up the basket, and he sees there's nothing underneath there. Mm-hmm. So at some point, the Ewok ran off, and the Ewok runs off to see the family is out of the cage. The Gorax returns and sees everybody there, except the I'm skipping ahead here. So the Gorak returns. He sees the family. The family takes off, and there's this giant staircase that everybody has to climb down. That was a part that I left off. After the chasm, they climb up this giant staircase to the Gorax's lair. Now they have to climb down the staircase. And when they do that, the brute decides to stay behind, and he starts using his axe to knock the feet of the Gorax to kind of hurt him. And this pisses off the Gorax. He gets mad and he gets frustrated. He starts banging his fists into the wall, which causes part of the cave to collapse. And right. They go there. The Ewok dies.
How many little kids cried at that scene?
0.
It was.
It's melodramatic. Mace is like, don't die, and he's gifted the axe by the Ewok, and the Ewok dies, and at some point the Gorax had to have passed Mace and the Brute, because he's chasing the family down, while Mace is staying with the Brute Ewok and being gifted the axe. It's just some of the
plot holes.
Not the plot holes. Some of the, what's it called when you're setting the scene? Just the way they set the scene, like it's a hallway. So the Gorax would have had to have passed Mace and just like, you deal with your dying friend there. I'm going to go eat your family. I don't know. Just the orientation, I think, is what I'm looking for, of where everybody is not clear. But so the Gorax starts climbing down the stairs, and the father, the real father, and one of the Ewoks have enough time to use rope to make a tripwire. Yes. And it's like this long hallway. So the Goraxes can see, I'm sure the Gorax sees them doing what they're doing down there. But as he's walking, everybody hides, and they pull the rope, and the Gorax trips and he falls down the stairs, but he almost falls over the chasm. He doesn't. The Ewok wizard uses his magic crystal to force a stalactite to fall on the Gorax's head, and it's sharp enough to be like, that dude should be dead. But instead, it just breaks apart like it's plaster.
It probably was. Probably.
The mother pulls out the blaster, Mace's blaster, and he shoots the Gorax. She shoots the Gorax in the chest, and it's held like, it's not like Star Wars blasters where you see a laser blast, it fires across. It's held in place like it's a proton pack from Ghostbusters. The laser just kind of shoots out, and it's just like this energy force. It's not like a true blaster from Star Wars.
Right. It's like she found another level or something, or another setting on the blaster.
Yes.
It's not working this way, so hold on a minute. Boom, there you go, dumbass.
I even noticed at the end of the blast, at the end of the blaster shot, fire, ray, whatever you want to call it, it kind of like wiggles like it's the proton pack from Ghostbusters. This is pre-Ghostbusters, but it still like wiggles like it's part of, I don't know, like they're shooting Slimer or something. But the blast is strong enough to shoot the Gorax down into the chasm. And so Sindel comes walking out, so does Wicket, and they're on both sides of the chasm, and they're like waving, hey, we did it. But then the Gorax comes climbing out. Mace uses the axe that was gifted to him to hit the back spine of the Gorax.
I missed this part too. Oh my god!
Oh, you did?
I did. Wow.
Yeah, so he comes up, and Sindel's like actually legit crying. She looks legit scared. And Mace kind of just takes his axe, and I appreciated that there was some payoff to the whole scene where they throw the axe. The whole axe challenge, like that. That was introduced to have this payoff, and Mace throws the axe, hits the spine of the Gorax, and the Gorax falls back into the chasm. Everyone is reunited. The father's like, all right, let's find a way out of here so they don't have to explain how they crossed the chasm. Mace, they go back to the hut, Wicket's hut. Mace lets the pixie go, and it kind of flies up into the night sky.
Wait. The imagery of him holding that flashlight in his hands that pretended to be the pixie.
It's
or
obvious,
light bulb or
yeah, it's obvious it's a light bulb or something. They're hiding the line that goes down his sleeve. But yeah. Anyways, the pixie goes flying off into the night. Wicket actually says Sindel, and Sindel says Wicket. So we know who the names are.
Right.
Sindel is gifted the white wings that were given to, I think, the father, Deej. And then the voiceover comes back on, who says that the thing that they've learned the most is that courage, loyalty, and love are the strongest forces in the universe, which I think Luke might say different. You know, the Force is the strongest force in the universe. Huh. But then that's it. The end. That's Caravan of Courage in a nutshell.
I'm trying to see. Okay, there we go. The voiceover, man, it felt like it was an old Indian voiceover guy. So I'm trying to see who he. I mean, I know you said who he was, but
yeah,
it had the old, you're up in Cherokee, North Carolina, and you're watching a video feel to it.
Yeah.
There we go, Bill Orrs. Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, he does look like the snowman from.
Yep.
Rudolph.
Yeah, I think they based it off of him.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. It is the same. Yeah, it's the snowman from Rudolph, which they recycle for Elf.
Okay.
He's the snowman in Elf. But
yeah, what were your thoughts on this awesome piece of Star Wars? I don't want to. It's not literature or cinematography.
Yeah. I mean, this was a reaction to George not liking the holiday special, wanting to be involved. I think he doesn't. Yeah, it's got some problems. It was forced at sometimes. You can see the influence from the Wizard of Oz and Lord of the Rings, like I kind of mentioned. I don't know.
It was just.
I wish I had a bigger budget.
Yeah.
The Ewoks did more in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, they did. It like I said, it really felt like somebody broke into the props department and decided to shoot a movie, because the Ewoks, you could tell, were just teddy bears. The fur, just, the costumes were bad. You were looking at it thinking, is this the same costumes they used in Return of the Jedi? Because, the cinematography, I guess they didn't do the whole, special effects or whatever on them that they did on Return. And there's one scene where they're running away from the Ewoks, and they get caught up in that with the rat, the big ass rat. And you could tell, and they used to do this all the time back in the day, especially on spaghetti westerns, that all they did was put a polarizing filter on the camera to make it seem like it was nighttime, because there were shadows.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just too simple. I think that's as we kind of talk through this and I listened to what you were just saying, I think my problem with the movie is just way too simple.
Mm-hmm.
I think the plot is too simple. The scenes are too simple. They could have added some more complexity to it.
Right. I did like the fact that, I never seen any of the Ewoks cartoons, but you were able to see where a lot of the Ewoks toys came from.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had the hang glider, and they had the like with the play school stuff. The hut was more based on what this movie was, and they had the donkey in there, and they had the wagon and stuff. Felt like they took it straight out of this movie versus maybe they took it out of the Ewok cartoon, but I've never seen them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love Star Wars, so it was enjoyable to watch, but I don't feel like I need to rewatch it like any of the other movies.
Right. I don't think I understand why this isn't on Disney Plus now.
Yeah. I mean, it's not canon. They don't consider it canon.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to place it in the Star Wars timeline, where do you think this falls in? Is this pre-Return of the Jedi, post-Return of the Jedi?
I would assume it would be post-Return, but geez. It could be right. Dude, there is no telling. I would assume it would either be either one, but I naturally just thought post-Return.
I thought the same thing, but now that I've asked the question, I would assume this has to be a prequel, because I would assume there would be more stormtrooper masks, blasters, like.
Oh yeah.
The Force would be littered with AT-ATs and dead stormtroopers, and possibly even wreckage from the Death Star. So it's got to be a prequel.
Yeah, there you answered your question perfectly right there.
I guess. So the question is, do we watch Battle for Endor at some point?
All I got to do is turn the DVD over.
That's right. It came with both. One side was Caravan of Courage. The other side is what is it?
Battle for
Ewoks.
Endor.
Ewoks: The Battle for Endor, I think, is the official title.
Is it as bad as Caravan of Courage?
I would assume so. I don't remember, but maybe not, because it did spawn a sequel. Caravan of Courage spawned the sequel to that is Battle of Endor. So maybe the sequel's not as good as the original. I don't know.
And you know what makes this even worse more than anything? My wife has the movie, a one sheet for this movie.
We did too. It got torn up in the move. I was so upset because it's wear it as a badge of honor that you got the theatrical one sheet, because it's pretty. It's still fun. It's Star Wars. Star Wars is fun.
Yeah, it's sitting in an envelope or a Ziploc bag for like the last 2 years. We just haven't hung it up yet.
Frame that shit. Get that up there.
I need to, man. I just haven't freaking done it. I don't know.
I mean, this was the end of the Star Wars reign, just before the dark times. It's just got some of that. It's just like a warm hug. Like, I don't know, seeing some of the imagery of the Ewoks. It's just like, oh, you remember this? Yeah, I do. All right, great. Let's hug. This feels nice. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just watching it and hearing some of the Return of the Jedi musical cues and some of the sound effects. It's like, this is nice.
Yeah. Paint a pretty little tree over here.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm with you, man. I don't ever plan on rewatching this movie.
One and done.
One and done. I don't even plan on forcing my grandkids to watch it, because it's that bad.
I remember when I first got the DVD and I was watching it with my kid, my son Harrison. He was done after like 15 minutes, and I'm just like, why am I still watching this if he doesn't want to watch it? I forced myself to finish it. He was going off and doing other things, and I'm like, this really isn't as good as I remembered it as a kid. So I think with some blinders on as a kid, it was a good movie. But after what we've kind of experienced in Star Wars and our expectations, and it's not all that great.
No.
But it's still nice to watch. I mean, I don't know. I'm torn. I'm indifferent. I don't hate it. I don't necessarily love it.
Well, if I need something to put me to sleep, I'll pop this on.
Aww.
Yeah. I think Mandy went to bed with about 20 minutes left of it. And I was like, she wanted me to wait for her, but I'm like, we need to finish watching it Friday because I need it for the podcast. She goes, you go right ahead.
Let's put some time between this and Battle of Endor. So we'll come back to it sometime down the road.
Yes.
We need a break.
Oh my goodness.
We need a break from that. So
what an awesome.
But given the choice between talking about Gina Carano and watching Caravan of Courage, I will take watching Caravan of Courage any day.
I have your back.
Thanks. Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
We got your back, Mando.
Oh, goodness.
You know, if you love Ewoks, this is great.
Yeah.
It's a great movie if you're an Ewok fan. Don't expect it to be Return of the Jedi quality.
No.
But have fun.
Did the did the actors do anything else after this movie?
I will say that Dennis Muren, who is a big ILM guy, if you're like a visual effects geek, you know Dennis Muren. He was involved with this project. So was Joe Johnston, who did a lot of the pre-production artwork, art directing.
Uh-huh.
He was involved with it. He went on to direct Captain America, the First Avenger, October Sky, which is one of my favorites of his, and The Rocketeer, which I mentioned last week. Let's see, Eric Walker. He did a couple other things after that. He was in the sequel.
He was in Less Than Zero, huh?
Less Than Zero. Let's see, Sindel. Nope, that's not her. Does she not have one? Aubrey Miller, is that her that was? Yeah, apparently she didn't do much after this, after the one. At least she doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
Right.
Because when I click on her...
I'm looking on IMDb. The Message in 2012. Making of Star Wars Caravan of Courage in 2014. Hey, they got the diabetes guy in Battle of Endor.
Yes. Diabetes.
Yeah, that's all she did, dude. Let me see all. Actress. Yeah, that's all she did was Caravan of Courage and an Ewok adventure. Wow. Interesting. But the mom looks like I'd recognize. The mom looks like I recognize the mom. I've seen her around.
Let's see. Oh, she's like a month or so older than me.
Oh,
She's
not
folding.
the mom. Okay.
No, not the mom.
No, I was like
I'm still on Sindel.
Okay.
She's like a month older than me. 2 months older than me. Sorry, I can do my math.
Yeah, the mom looks like she's had a pretty decent career.
Looks like it's a former actress, so she's not doing much. The little girl.
Right.
Yeah, it does look like you were saying, it's a fan film. Like George just grabbed a bunch of his props from Return of the Jedi and just went into his backyard and started shooting a little friendly movie. Something that wouldn't offend anyone.
Yes, there you go.
But yeah, Battle for Endor has, like you said, Wilford Brimley, who's the diabetes guy. But I mean, just looking at the poster for Battle for Endor, it reminds me a lot of Willow with like a witch and some sort of creature. I don't know if that's another Gorax on the poster. We'll have to watch it at some point and do it.
She's got her headband on again.
Yep. Oh, I can't wait. This is the other one with the little it looks like a monkey lizard.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's a little bit bigger. What was it called? I don't remember. Oh, it's also got the blurgs. This is where we meet the blurgs for the first time. It was in Battle for Endor.
Okay.
Which we see in The Mandalorian.
I'm looking at the poster right now, and there's looks like there's actual battle.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. Oh no, it looks like there's a blurg and another. Man, this looks like it would be pretty badass, but I guess I'm looking at a theatrical because it's got it's got the U in the triangle, so maybe it's like the British poster or something. Because it's got a blurg and then it's got these things that look like they're not clink. It look like straight out of Star Trek.
Star Trek.
Wow. So
yeah. So we're gonna have to watch it.
Yeah, one day we'll get there.
We'll take a break so we don't have to force ourselves through another one. Kind of revitalize and re-energize our patience.
Yes, please.
And,
don't make me sit through
there.
another one.
Oh, I will. Just not yet. Just not yet. It's fun. It's great. Let's do it.
Right. Now, when you rewatched it, did you rewatch it by yourself, or did you force your family to watch it with you?
No, I watched it by myself. Kids were busy doing other things.
Right.
I think they were watching The Flash, actually.
Oh.
I was alone in my Star Wars room watching Caravan of Courage.
Awesome, Jason.
Yeah.
Have the great rest of your day, and I'll
You
see
too.
See you next week.
This is the way.
This is the way.